Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Legal Tech Live. I am Nick Rishwain, your host and co-founder. We have a special edition today on a Sunday morning at 8 o'clock Pacific time, 4 o'clock in the UK. We're joined today by author Chrissie Lightfoot. She is best noted for her pioneering and groundbreaking bestseller, The Naked Lawyer, RIP to Triple X, How to Market, Brand, and Sell You. She also had a sequel to that book called Tomorrow's Naked Lawyer, New Tech, New Human, New Law, How to Be Successful, 2015 to 2045. She is also responsible for quite a few really cool articles. I read her blog regularly on AI and robotics, and she is the creator and developer of Robot Lawyer Lisa. And this is we'll go into Robot Lawyer Lisa a little bit more. It's a way for two people to essentially create an NDA that they can both agree to without having a lawyer or solicitor involved. Is that right? Is that right, Chrissie?
Yeah, absolutely spot on.
Okay, all right. And is it a chatbot? Is Robot Lawyer Lisa a chatbot of sorts?
No, it is not a chatbot.
Okay.
Depending on how you want this to flow, Nick.
Go ahead. Jump right in.
No, Robot Lawyer Lisa, first of all, was devised with the latent legal market in mind. So basically, here in the UK, 54% of businesses, a third of consumers have never used a traditional human lawyer, simply because they may have been neglected by them, or it just doesn't make up the right business model for lawyers. So all of the usual reasons that businesses and consumers would not use a human lawyer, as you can imagine. So I see technologies such as Lisa and all the other ones out there that are coming through as a chatbot or an AI app, or the more sophisticated machine learning type, more expensive systems. Really, I think that they're there in order to bring access to legal services and access to legal justice as such, is a great opportunity. So no, Lisa sits on an AI platform itself. So it's not a chatbot where it's question answer and you might go through 100 or 150 Q&A before you get to a document or a resolution or an assessment. This is something where we have used a human lawyer that has 25, 30 years of experience. So where the nuance in all of these difficult areas that you sometimes find that lawyers eventually get to, we've already built in this tool or the system, the nuance or those sticking point areas, basically. So it's quite different to the leading technologies which deal with requiring a lot of data and data analysis and e-discovery. So it's not like that type of technology, because they're great with research and analysis and hypothesizing. You know, the IBM Watson stuff, Ross, Raven, Kira, etc. We've gone straight to the other end where it's about reasoning and judgment.
Okay.
We've actually taken the human lawyer's brain and dumped that into the platform and created the Q&A in a way. If we wanted to put tables in it or calculations, you could as well, which is where the AI element comes into that platform, which we may do with some more sophisticated solutions in due course. But we wanted to start with a simple solution such as an NDA, because obviously an NDA, it is very much two-way. You've got two parties, two clients either side want to come together and talk about something and come to a resolution whereby they want to get on and achieve something. So whether it's first talks of some investment or a joint venture agreement or anything like that, it's the first stage. And we thought it's a basic document that can be used generically throughout the world as well. So we've done it in English law, English jurisdiction, because we're well aware that obviously English law in dispute in lots of areas, a lot of companies do choose English jurisdiction, English law anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to get a feel for produce something that lots of businesses and lay people can use across the world and still be protected. Also, they could, we know with NDAs, obviously people will have companies and people maybe in China or Russia or other parts of Europe, North America, South America, even if they're dealing with a UK company or person. So we've built it so that it is anywhere in the world, any purpose.
Excellent. And can I clarify, just for replay listeners and maybe even live viewers, it is for NDAs only right now, correct?
Yeah, at the moment. But
at the moment.
We have a whole stack of AI tools that we are developing.
Okay.
Like I said, the NDA itself is the first out there as the flagship.
Okay.
For us, we beta test early doors end of last year. in the last 3 or 4 months. We've learned from that based on who is using it, why they're using it, how they're using it. And this is why we are aware that we have universities using it, students, we have one-man bands, we have blue chip corporates, GCs, a whole range. And we've been quite surprised at who is actually using this. You know, lawyers themselves are using it because it's much faster, slicker, quicker than using, say, the Thomson Reuters or LexisNexis, because it's built in a way that's bilateral, basically, so that the lawyer would give it to their client and say, look, we don't want to do this. You get on and do it for yourself and come back to us when you want the more high value, high complex, bigger document doing. So part of the JV and license agreements that go with it, that kind of thing. So
Right.
come back to us for that purpose. So it's been interesting to see, because people say, well, who are your target clients and who is going to use this? And I say, well, you know, it's kind of, it's in the open right now. We've identified 3 core channels, obviously, and some of those are where you've got corporate clients that have incubators. So people who are using it tend to be startup bootcamp, academies, incubators, entrepreneur hubs, university spin-off hubs. So those businesses that are really keen and eager to be protected,
Mm-hmm.
don't have the funds all the time, and actually want to get through this 24/7, 365 on any device, so they're not waiting for lawyers to come back to them.
Right.
So we give them enough. It's actually robot lawyer Lisa, how she works anyway. And I say she. People say, why do you say she and not it? It's because people have already referenced Lisa as a she. It's something that's the public and the perception of what this interaction is all about. That's been interesting to see as well, of how people view robot per se. You know, we've done this with a view to actually the robot lawyer Lisa and how they work through it is very much guidance and support. So where we've taken the 25 years of knowledge and experience of that human lawyer's brain, dealing with the nuance, so we're getting right to the sticky areas that 2 clients are going to get sticky on.
Mm-hmm.
Basic bump.
Mm-hmm.
So guidance and support, so they have enough knowledge and experience to read off there. Then obviously each side is going to take the risk themselves as to what points they want to agree or not agree, if they're perfectly aware of the legal, the law nuance, as well as the commercial nuance. Because I think in traditional lawyering, what tends to happen is one side and the other have to have separate representation. And this lawyer on this side is telling his client one thing, and that lawyer on that side is telling that client that thing. And each client does not know what the other solicitor has said. So they're trusting that this solicitor, yes, is obviously acting in their best interest, but it might not be the right commercial interest, because they don't understand what the legal side is from this point of view, for like defense and prosecution or whatever. So we say, no, if you're on this side or this side, this is how lawyers would normally be guiding you or supporting you. So now that you can see from both sides what it's like, you can now make an informed business decision about what is the best way forward for you 2 guys to come together and get this signed up and sorted.
Excellent. That's fascinating, and this is a fairly new venture for you, correct? I mean, I saw the robot lawyer Lisa. I think I first noticed her. I think she followed me or on Twitter last year, and that's when I first noticed her. And that was at the end of last year. How long has she been active?
Since end of November last year.
Okay.
Active is in out there in kind of a full mode, because we tested it 2 months prior anyway in a beta. But we did the official launch only a few weeks ago, April 6th.
Oh, okay.
And at that point, we'd actually got on board proper collaborations on board, you know, with universities and spin-offs and some companies. And they were happy to actually say, yes, we're involved in this. You know, we collaborated with the GSA, which is the Global Sourcing Association, which is huge. They have a number of blue chip clients and mid-sized enterprises, and also SMEs as well, because obviously this is a product that is really for SMEs. So it's really for the clients of corporates or the clients of big institutions, because it's those people who can't afford normal basic legal representation.
Right.
So they see a value in that, because obviously we're bringing an added value product that adds real value for their customers and clients. So they're actually really keen on using Lisa for that purpose. And we're really pleased about that, because obviously if we can help their customers and clients be successful from a very early stage, then the chances are that they're going to turn into great customers and clients for that particular corporate client of ours, and everybody's happy.
Yeah.
So free for people who can't afford it, but obviously somebody's paying at some point.
At some point, yeah. And what is the cost for like a single NDA? Say is it a graduated system, or is it a one-time fee? How does that work?
Well, obviously, Robot Lawyer Lisa herself is free, so there's no cost whatsoever. So both sides are getting Robot Lawyer Lisa free. Okay, but if those clients had to go to a traditional lawyer anywhere in the world, I think the fees actually charge from the very lowest, it's about £250 for one
Okay.
side, but they do go up to about 1,500 to 2,000. It depends which lawyer, which law firm, and it depends if they get a bit more involved. But on average, it's usually about £750, £800 is an average fee for an NDA. Now, of course, because we're saying the other side, you can do the same and you don't need all the human lawyer either. You can double that. So we're actually saving an average of about £1,600 for these two clients to come together in order using lease instead of human lawyer. We've actually just come across a great platform called F6S as well. Somebody recommended it to me about a week ago, and it's a London-based company, I think, where you've got it's basically a fantastic community of startups.
Oh, cool.
Startups and accelerators and investors together. But basically, it's kind of a deal room where you say, if you've got something for free or something at discount, you're helping other startups actually get off the ground, protect themselves, buy products, buy services, liaise with suppliers in a deal room, and I think it's fantastic. So we've actually just popped Robot Lawyer Lisa on there, and she's getting some attention there right now as well, which is great.
Excellent. So, in what is the benefit for you or your company of having her as free? Is it just free because it's early stage right now, and you plan to have some freemium type model, or?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, Nick. You've got it. I mean, the whole mission and modus operandi for Robot Lawyer Lisa in the real nascent stage is we genuinely want to open up the latent legal market. So to serve those people that have genuinely been neglected and cannot, when I was 18, 19 in my first startup, when I was doing it, thinking, I can't afford £1,000 to get an NDA done. Majority of companies just basic, it costs more to get a basic thing like that done than employing somebody for a whole month. So, I'm very cognizant of the need for cost-effective, time-efficient, high-quality legal services that the majority of businesses and consumers can use. So the reason Robot Lawyer exists is that. Now, of course, I mean, the freemium model is there. We will have a premium cost model element to it.
Okay.
And that will be in relation to the new products that we're bringing out that are directly in line with what corporates have said they are looking for, or associations, and they've said, look, we're prepared to pay for this because we can see the value in it for our members, customers, clients. We're happy to actually work with you to do that. You're happy, we're happy, and our customers and clients are happy. So no, by all means, we are a business,
right,
charity,
right,
where we can afford the beneficial outcomes and the charitable stuff early doors, and the freemium for the NDA is always going to remain the same.
excellent. That's very cool. I'm glad that we had a chance to discuss that and see where that goes. So there will always be this, and we have the issue here in the U.S., the access to justice problem, and or access to law, and and so it's great that you're offering that particular service for free, but we're also, we are a business, so these other items we're going to be charging for, and
absolutely, and you guys, you've got it worse than we have. That's a statistics in the UK saying 54% of businesses, a third of consumers. It's as high as 80% in the USA.
I've seen that number. I've seen it.
I mean, it's huge, 90% in Canada, and you're thinking, oh my goodness, if we could, use these freemium model tools actually help support our businesses, and they're out there now. I'm sure that there'll be other people that follow on from what we're doing, and people that are ahead of us of what we're doing. That can only be a good thing because, when you look at the statistics of how many businesses fail, it doesn't matter whether you're a startup as a late teenager or in your 20s and a bit green, or a serial entrepreneur and then you're trying new ventures. You try a lot and some work and some don't. But I know from coming at it from being a businesswoman and entrepreneur as well as a lawyer, because I've been a lawyer, so you see all of the problems there and how you can get around it. Now, if you can save £10,000 to £20,000 of legal fees in the very early stages of your business to protect your assets, to exploit those assets, to get the support and guidance and advice that you need, there's a good chance that when you have statistics that say 1 in 4, 1 in 5 businesses are going to fail within the first 3 years, a lot of that is fail within the first year because they run out of money.
Right.
And if they could save that money for something else, for their product development, for their route to market, and negate the legal cost entirely, that £20,000 or so can go a lot further and a lot farther in a lot of more beneficial ways. So that obviously then goes into the local economy, the regional and national economy. People pay tax, all the rest of it. So it should make the local, regional, national economies a bit stronger. So what I haven't explained so far as well, Nick, is that people obviously accuse me and say, look, you're going to put a lot of lawyers out of work, blah, blah, blah. I said, no, actually,
Right.
first of all, if we want to have a debate about whether the world needs more lawyers, I think we all know the answer to that. But the way Lisa works is that actually, although Lisa is free and the clients are using Lisa, the lawyer that did the actual brain dump themselves, they actually get to see who is actually using the NDA because they're party to it, of course. Now,
Mm-hmm.
obviously, if the user at the end of doing that then wants some additional legal advice, proper high-end legal advice,
Mm-hmm.
that will be the first point of contact anyway, naturally. But of course, the person on the other side has the same issue because if they've got to the point where they've agreed on most of it, they still need a little bit of legal help.
Mm-hmm.
They then need to, in law, go to their local solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
Because obviously it's the same everywhere in the world. A solicitor can only act for one client because that is the regulation.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, we are actually what we've seen so far, even in the last few months of soft launch going to full launch, is where clients have gone on to the next step. They've actually gone to 2 human lawyers. So Lisa has actually created 2 more pieces of legal work.
Mm-hmm.
So, when people ask me, you're putting lawyers, I said, no, I think that if we can help businesses be more successful and they start to be successful and they start to generate income and they reinvest back in themselves and they need high quality, high complex, more high-end legal advice, they will then have the monies, the funds to do that, and they will be more than happy to then go to these human lawyers at the high end and do exactly what started to spin off from Lisa.
Yes, that's everything that I've read so far. There's always the concern. I have an interest. I don't actively participate in any AI or anything like that. I do work for a legal tech company. What I generally refer to as kind of Legal Tech 1.0 is a website to reduce costs for expert witnesses, but reduce the cost of litigation essentially through finding your expert witnesses without having to broker. Yeah,
That's a brilliant thing.
Yeah, because the cost of them, and if you can eliminate that middle person, the middleman or middlewoman, who just charges to locate and then adds a markup to every billable hour, that's another 10 or 20 or $50,000 in fees that you didn't have to pay. So that is essentially what I do in my day job. But I'm more of I look at AI and that stuff as more of an interest and not something that I'm actively participating in. But I love talking with people about this. And it sounds to me that everything I read, there's always the fear that it's putting lawyers out of business. But those who are really involved with it say, let's slow down on that. It's not really putting anybody out of business. What it may be doing is forcing you to learn. You may be doing some more of the high-end business, or as Susskind calls it, the bespoke business. And it really, to me, what I see is a big part of what I do is in customer service. I think attorneys are going to have to learn some softer skills. What are your, that some of them have maybe failed. And I speak very fondly of my father, but his soft skills were not probably the best. And whereas I do things a little different and I'm much softer in almost all my skills, then again, I've never practiced. I went right to legal tech and avoided the practice of law. So what are your thoughts on that for our general legal tech listeners, our general legal community listeners? Do you think AI and robotics and machine learning, is it going to be putting lawyers out of business, or are there other skills that are going to be learned?
Well, I'm glad you asked it because this is where I pitch my book, isn't it?
Yeah, well, great, perfect.
No, on a serious note, that is what the Naked Lawyer book, the first book, was all about. I mean, the Naked Lawyer came out in 2009, and it is all about lawyers needing those soft skills. So the book is a blueprint, basically, of how to market, brand, and sell you, and it talks about these are the kind of skills that you need right now, and you will certainly need in the next 10 years, because this big pink elephant called the robot and AI and machine learning is going to come along. It's going to do all of the drafting the documents for you and all the intelligent stuff. And then what's left for you? Well, the only thing left of why a client or a firm is going to use you, because basically a lot of the technology is going to be the same. What's going to differ is how they differentiate and use the technology. What's going to really differentiate you is your personality and characteristic, and these soft skills of how you can persuade and negotiate and empathize and be emotionally intelligent,
Mm-hmm.
and be creative and imaginative and be wise and focus on your wisdom and humanity to impress, clients and corporates. That is what the Naked Lawyer is all about. Because basically, I set off on this whole crusade 10 years ago with that in mind, saying these are the skill sets you're going to need for the next now, as well as the next 10, 20, 30 years, because the machine comes in, it's going to start moving up to vertical of intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
motion. So, I haven't really put that in a diagram yet. That's the way I saw it back then. It's the way I see it now. But I see humans working with machines, not an and or an instead of. Sorry, an and nor, not an instead of. But it's about being really cute and strategic and tactful in how you actually decide which should we leave for the machine and which should we leave for the human. And what is the human lawyer ready to relinquish right now is what's the sensible commercial thing to do. And I'll give you an example of that. I work with my partner, my co-partner in Robot Lawyer Lisa is actually a corporate lawyer in a boutique law firm in London. And I actually sat down with him and said, using my naked lawyer persuasion skills and soft skills, said, look, this is how you spend your time right now, and this is what you charge for your time, and this is what the client expects to pay for your time, whatever. Now, there's all these wonderful technologies out there that can do this element of what you do right now. Now, if you could pass that saving on to a client, okay, and say you can have it for free, there you go. So the NDA, perfect example. So instead of spending 2 hours or 3 hours faffing around with a low value NDA, because low value is perceived by lawyers, whether it's £250 to 1,000, 1,500, as lots of low hanging fruit, but time consuming, backwards and forwards with a client that could be negated. So I said, do you want to continue doing 20 NDAs a week at that? Or would you prefer to say, get on and do that, Mr. Client, and come back to me when you've got your due diligence and your bigger stuff, where it's anywhere between 20 to 120,000, and I will focus on that for the whole week instead. Okay? So the smart lawyers get it. They get that if I'm going to use time and be efficient and be productive and be pragmatic and be commercial about this whole thing, I should no longer be doing all of this basic stuff, because a machine can do it quicker, faster, better, be of good quality, if not more quality, be available 24/7, 365 while I'm snoozing or on holiday or getting better from a hangover, or if I'm poorly. You know what I mean? Because also the thing to think about is a robot lawyer is not gender specific either. So, people say to me, why did you name Lisa? Lisa, it's in a feminine name. I said, because I've practiced as a solicitor. And I've been in a situation where I've had women come on the phone and say, I only want a woman to act for me, not a man, because I feel embarrassed of what I'm talking about. And sometimes I feel a bit, some lawyers can be very egotistical, very arrogant. I don't feel comfortable talking with a man. Now, that isn't the cast iron rule, don't get me wrong, but I think for those occasions where it does happen, and other men and women will say, yes, that has happened to us, why have the issue about saying, if we want to make the robot lawyer per se all-encompassing to all genders, all ages, all denominations, or whatever, then I know from my own experience as a practicing solicitor, if you make it female, then you're not going to ostracize females if you call it a man. So still think there might be some kind of male-human interaction here, or talk, wherever. So we thought, if you cover a woman, then it means that you're going to get the men and the women. So, and that's why we came up with Lisa as well. So
great, that's great. And there's, in the U.S., I thought it was great when I first saw it, because I have, it didn't treat me one way or another. It didn't affect me one way that was called Lisa. But I did know that Ross Intelligence, who I'm sure you're aware of, I knew, Andrew, and I still need to get him as a guest on this show. But
you should. He's phenomenal.
I know he's great, and we do a lot of back and forth on Twitter, but we've never really chatted. We've had some emails back and forth, but Ross, they named Ross so that it would be humanized, as I understand it. They wanted it to have a name, so I knew that was Ross Intel. And then when I saw Robot Lawyer Lisa, I thought, excellent. There's some balance here too. So one had this man of the two kind of named AI related businesses in legal right now, too, with actual human names. I thought, good, there's some balance going on. So this is great.
We've even joked about it. We said we should get them on a date.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, he said, are you going to have some voice activated in due course? I said, it'll depend on the product, actually, because it's not always appropriate to have voice activation and NLP. So I said, let's pick that up in due course, Andrew, I think. But it's not, it's certainly on the agenda, but it has to be the right AI tool in the right
Right.
circumstance. Maybe if it's more consumer related because they're going to be using it at home.
Right.
If you think about products being used in an office, it's not always conducive to have voice activated rather than text based at this stage anyway.
That's right.
Get to this stage where it'll all be neural laced within 4 years if Elon Musk has his way, and we won't need keyboards, we won't need voice activated, we'll just have to think it and it'll be there. So let's see, shall we?
That's what. Let's see. Yeah, he's one of my favorites to watch. Elon Musk. I mean, I compare him when I explain him to people who don't follow him. I compare him. I'm like, he's kind of like the Howard Hughes of our time. That's what I see, and although I don't like his views on AI and robotics because he's really scared about those views. He thinks that it will really have a negative impact. He's a fascinating man to follow. There's no doubt about it.
This whole I agree entirely, but this whole debate of AI is the dichotomy basically of promise and peril.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm more on the Ray Kurzweil side, which is I'm more of an optimist that it should be the promise, and we will handle the peril.
Yeah, but I do think that it's great that somebody is taking the position that we need to be aware of these things because there are generally I was a political science major, which was a heavy social science, and there's always the discussion after the fact, after some technology is made, because governments are far behind on analyzing these things. It's interesting to see somebody take the perspective that he takes from the corporate world.
Yes.
That would, and generally the corporate world doesn't seem to be the ones who have that sort of social good aspect. They're looking towards profit. He's taking a little bit different view of it, and I think that's promising as far as society is concerned. That somebody from the corporate world is thinking about how this may impact people, it may impact society. So that is a very promising turn of events, I think.
Yeah, and I think whether they're high profile and forgive me, but obviously Elon Musk is in that position and he can do that. It's a bit like Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, people who have actually made billions already, and then can think, how can we use this in a really social proofing, justice proofing kind of way,
right,
to move humankind on and also protect humankind. Hence the race to Mars and why he's involved with NASA and all the rest of it.
Right.
But then rolling it back as in. All different people having that same ambition. You do have Joshua Browder, in his start with the do not pay, which is fantastic, but then it's really a humanitarian, social justice kind of angle. Access to legal justice, where obviously I think the neat one out of his portfolio now for chatbots is the immigration one.
Mm-hmm.
Global migration, immigration, asylum seeking is a huge issue across the globe now. Obviously, let's not get into politics, but
right.
The matter is, it's a huge problem. And,
that's right.
Where would you start if you wanted to know how the hell can, I'm an immigrant, I need some help, or I'm going to get thrown out, what happens, blah, blah, what's my rights? It's easier to go on your mobile phone and just check, use the chatbot, off you go.
Yeah.
This is why, intelligent genius students of whether they're late teens, early 20s, who are still at university, but thinking about their place in the world and how humanity should interact. So if we're going to use these kind of high-end technologies, let's use them good and not bad. It doesn't have to be all about profit and loss.
Right.
It has to be benefit for everybody. And I'm a great advocate of that as well. Absolutely, because I've been following the universal basic income debate now for a number of years, and where they're being trialed and why and how they're successful. And I do see it as at least it's a step in the right direction. I've read those that are for it, those that are against. Bill Gates says, no, I don't think it's right in principle and the idea is right, but I'm not sure that way of doing it in the system will work. But we're saying, well, we need to try something because we don't have a lot of time.
Yeah.
People say to me, where do you see things progressing? I say, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. It's not going to be 10, 15, 20 years from now. It's going to be the next 5 years.
Right.
When you get Elon Musk saying in 4 years, yes, Neuralink, we're going to move this on, push it on within 4 years.
Right.
Dennis Harrogate, the guy who did AlphaGo,
Mm-hmm.
he said basically, we're going to set out and the world champion Go player, we're going to pit off our machine against this. And I think it's probably going to take us 5 years to develop this technology to do that. he did it in 18 months.
Yep.
So every time the technologists set a marker out and say, this is when I think it's going to happen by, they actually beat it nowadays. It's not,
Yeah.
you know, people can poo-poo and say whatever they want, but the reality is all of the latest innovations, inventions, technological acceleration, the evolution and all the rest of it is happening quicker, not slower.
Right.
If that's the case, we need to be prepared for that because it will cause social upheaval, I believe. A lot of people will, the divide between rich and poor, the have, the have not, the robots and the humans, how it's all going to interchange is really seriously on the horizon.
Yeah, it is. So it's great to see people with means who are addressing it from a more of a concern. Yeah, it does seem that I think probably a lot of it in probably my interest in it in artificial intelligence, robotics, it came from not wanting to be left behind. It was like, okay, I need to start learning about this and talking to those who are in the area so that I don't get left behind, because isn't that one of the ways it used to be, if you don't have an education, you've been left behind. Well, there's not really education for the masses in this area. So you really have to take it upon yourself to get educated. And a lot of people won't do that. So, I want, before we digress too much into the conversation that I'd love to have with you, I want to I want to learn a little bit more about you and how you got here. And I see Jay in our chat has a couple of questions that we'll probably wrap up with on Robot Lawyer Lisa. But how did you said 18, 19 years old, you started your first startup, and you have had this career of, you've been a business person, entrepreneur, it sounds like most of your adult life. You've become an author, you weren't a solicitor before you were an entrepreneur. It sounds like you did that a little later on. And now you're into legal tech or technology as a whole. So tell us a little bit about you. Where did you start? What have you done before becoming an author and then a legal a futurist?
Right.
I know that's a lot of time probably to put together, but tell us about some of your business. Tell us about that startup business,
Right.
the first
What
one.
I would say is that I'm basically a businesswoman who spots opportunity, but can see 10 years ahead, basically. So
Okay.
if you've got that ability, I've been constantly pushing the boundaries in innovation, sales and marketing, new tools in order to get clients, keep clients, improve services, all that kind of area. And this came about because as a teenager, I was already interested in business. I knew I wanted to be a businesswoman. Obviously, at that age, I wasn't sure, but then I started reading some really far out books, you know, futuristic books even then, and thinking, what's my life going to be like when I'm 30, 40, 50? What kind of skill sets am I going to need? And I read a great book by Charles Handy called The Portfolio Work. Sorry, it's called Empty Raincoat, but it talked about portfolio workers, saying basically, you know, people of my generation back then, so back in the 80s when I was a teenager, you know, he was advocating and banging the drum saying, you really must get these portfolio skills, because whatever skills you've got, you can then be agile and adapt so that you'll never be out of work, and stop thinking about getting a profession or an industry where you're going to stay for 40, 50 years. You won't. So that really put me on the journey, even as a teenager, to think, I'm not going to think of myself as I want to be a solicitor, or I want to be a scientist and whatever, or I want to be a dentist, or I want to be whatever. I was thinking about what skill sets do all of those professions have, so that I can be versatile, so that whatever happens with technology, because I was reading the stuff about what happened with, you know, computers and robots even back then, I thought this is probably going to happen, and definitely going to happen in the prime of my career, in the middle of my working life, and I thought I need to kind of future-proof my own career. And the word career, I'd even put quotation marks around that. So future-proof my workability or workable skills where I get paid for those skills. So I thought, if I have a diverse range of skills, so I've worked in operations, human resource, accounting, sales, marketing, strategy, and then I've done all of that in the work that I was doing when I was an actual advisor or a strategist, and I was self-employed, being a business strategy plan kind of person as well, a consultant. Thought the thing missing from my bow, and that really annoys me, is lawyering, because I'm spending a fortune with lawyers, and it's because I'm ignorant. I don't understand what it's all about. So I've got to train to be a solicitor or a lawyer. So I understand from that side, is this really that complex? Is it really like being a surgeon as a medic as opposed to a nurse, that kind of thing. And can I do something for yourself? So I thought, I want to qualify as a solicitor because I'm really interested in this work anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And if I like it, I might stay there because I don't like the way that I've been treated as an entrepreneur and a businesswoman by the traditional human lawyer. And this is in the 90s.
Okay.
So I thought, I'm going to go in there and see what it's like. And then I realized, I thought, I could actually shake things up here, basically. I just thought, this industry is 10 years behind everything else I've worked in. It is the next great bastion to fall, and it could be done online. It could be done with technology. It could be done with all of these wonderful new things on the horizon. I mean, a basic thing was using social media way back in 2007, 2008. It was nascent here in the UK. But lawyers wouldn't touch with a barge pole. You would never have seen the plethora of lawyers on LinkedIn or Twitter as you do now. It was very new. But I said, no, you can use these new technologies in a way to market and sell and to do your research and to engage with potential customers and existing customers. And you can do it, it's free, it's intelligent and all the rest of it. But it's just a new way of doing things and being at the cutting edge and pioneering all the time. So when I was a solicitor, I stepped back and I thought, this isn't for me to stay here in this one law firm, because what I've got is a model that needs to be shared with all the other lawyers. It's just to say, this is where we're at now. You need to market, brand, and sell yourself because the computer's going to come along, the machine's coming along in 10 years, and it's going to be a real cake storm, basically. So at that point, I left working in-house, working at the law firm. I thought, I've got this great idea, which was the Naked Lawyer, which is all about speaking, consulting, writing on the subject of how to market, brand, and sell you. But quickly, within the first 2 or 3 years of that process, I was starting to get approached by technology companies who said, we tend to understand what we're trying to do here. So, well, I've got an idea of how your technology could be deployed, which nobody's doing it. So then I was starting to working not only with the law firms and the lawyers, but the technology companies. So then I was starting to bridge the gap between the two, say this is how you could start to think about using these. If you have the imagination, here's a use case, a business case, this is how it could be deployed. But you need to really have an attitude shift and a mindset shift. Because this is about thinking, if you're going to take stuff out of the bucket from the bottom, you need to have a new idea of the money that's going to come in from the top.
Right.
Basically, I then spent the last few years doing that, but quickly realized that the advice that I was giving to some of these lawyers and law firms and technology research, the law firms were never going to do what Lisa does, because they're stuck in the same governance and structure and model and all that they weren't going to make that particular shift. So I thought, well, that comes down to the disruptors. So whether it's me or somebody else, and here I am, because I thought they're not going to do it. And this is, for me, I see the whole point of this kind of stuff. And this is why I'm doing Robot Lawyer Release today, as well as I do obviously still do my speaking engagements and a little bit of consultancy I do. But I'm heavily involved now that because of Robot Lawyer Lisa, I'm a great believer in you should use the technology wherever possible for the benefit of the client. Where the client still needs a human lawyer, I have my partner in his law firm, it's Duffy & Co. LLP in London, and we actually do the stuff that can't be done by our Lisa technology. Obviously, the human lawyers under that umbrella are doing. And it's quite right because, you know, at their level, they're doing high complex, multi-jurisdictional, cross-border, high-value work that businesses can afford, and rightly so, because it does require the real high-end intellectual capital of those lawyers at that particular level for those kind of deals. So, you know, basically where we've got the Duffy & Co. LLP boutique on the side, people say, well, aren't you just trying to spin off all your stuff from Lisa to that? Well, only where Adam has actually done the brain dump himself, because we're working with human lawyers in all different environments now, and different law setups, where obviously it's over to them to then liaise with anybody that's using Lisa. So we're not in it. We're a bit like Denton's and Next Law Labs.
Right.
You know, this company is sat here and it's a technology company that's going to provide legal services as a freemium model for the majority of the latent market. But we still have obviously a going concern, a proper business as Duffy & Co. LLP, where we're doing the high-end legal work that until any kind of technology comes along, it's going to move up and do all of that. You know, I'd love the point where Adam and Russ and all the others, we can use a technology that will free them up even further for some of the middle ground that they're doing right now.
Right.
That will come in time anyway.
Right. Well, that is a great summation of a really exciting career. We'll probably have to come on and do like a law student episode in the future where you tell them, what you saw from being an entrepreneur, and how you came to understand and see what was probably going to happen in the next 10 years. I do want to follow up. Jay from Pat Tech says, how many NDAs have been created since November? Do you have any numbers like that you're able to share?
Yeah, well, I know that actual how many times it's been pinged, it's been over 1,000.
Over 1,000. Excellent. Yeah. And is that UK only? Or no?
No, that's, we've had some far out places, Angora, Singapore, Moscow, New Zealand, Australia, all over the world, basically. North America, South America, different countries in Europe, Scandinavia. So no, because we get to see who has actually put it in from their email address as well, because obviously they're using country codes.
Right.
.br for Brazil, .de for Germany. So we could see who was actually creating the NDAs. And so obviously we see the email address for that. And then obviously we could see the profile of what they put in. We do not stock the NDA itself, because it's not, we say we're not holding this. It does not belong to us. It's a document you've created between yourselves. So we don't cross any data regulatory stuff either. And don't want to. I said, no, we don't want to. What's the point? We're not an NDA hosting, and that's
right.
about. That's totally over to you guys. You're creating NDA between you, and you get it on your email, and you keep it, and what have you. But no, from the data intel that we have, like I say, we're very, very surprised because of the reach, the breadth, and the reach, and who. So you can see if it's been a company, for example. So, some of the blue chips, which I shouldn't name, but the stuff on the website, the guy from Monsanto has used it.
Okay.
So we're really quite surprised at whether it's been an institution, corporate, a university, a one-man band. You can't lift the students, but obviously we see a lot of Gmail and Yahoo. That kind of thing. But the range of business emails that we see are across all sectors, biomed, as well as technology and just standard sales, even, anything. So
right.
it's really, really interesting to see it now.
That's excellent. And he does, Jay asks another good question for us to wrap up with, or at least to wrap up on Robot Lawyer Lisa. What is the next direction if you're ready to present this information to us? What is the next direction after the NDAs? Is there a particular product you have in mind?
Yes, but I can't disclose that one.
Perfect. That's okay. That's all right.
It's actually, it's business intel. But what I can say is that we are creating the same framework. So where it is bilateral rather than unilateral, it is that middle ground. It's with both sides. That is the uniqueness of Lisa that we're going to stick to. So where we are going, it will always be to help two sides. But there's lots of ideas that we've got, but obviously that's part of our commercial business model rolling out as to who we're approaching.
Excellent. Excellent.
Don't hold that against me, but I'm sure you can.
No, I totally understand. In fact, usually before I even go on record, I say, look, if we ask a question that you can't answer, just simply tell us. We'll move on to something else. So I didn't tell you that beforehand. I should have. So that's our show for today. Chrissie, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners, where they can find you, anything like that we didn't cover, that certainly give us where you can be contacted, tell us about Lisa's website, and then any other items that you may have wanted to cover that we didn't cover today? Please tell me.
Right. Three points of contact, actually, which I didn't, I missed one of them out. Obviously, the first one is robotlawyerlisa.com. So that's where anybody can go and try our first NDA AI tool.
Okay.
Go there. The second one is my own company, entrepreneurlawyer.co.uk. So that's where you'll find lots of free articles on the subject of AI and robots and the soft skills stuff. So if you go onto entrepreneurlawyer.co.uk, lots of free stuff. There's also, obviously, you can see the books on there. There's The Naked Lawyer and Tomorrow's Naked Lawyer, which is the sequel, which is all about the impact of AI and robotics in society and law. And the third area to get me on is actually on duthie.co.uk, duthielaw.co.uk, and you'll find me on there as the Robot Law Director.
Okay.
So, there's three routes there, whether if you want proper high-end legal services, duthielaw.co.uk, if you want Robot Lawyer Lisa for the free technology stuff, is robotloyalist.com, and then me as a person, as a speaker, and for all those free articles and books, ontoTheLawyer.co.uk.
Okay, and is it dothylaw.co.uk? Is Dothy D-O-T-H-Y?
No, D-U-T-H-I-E.
D-U-T-H-I-E, law,
Yeah.
C.
.co.uk.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, thank you so much, Chrissie. I'm so glad we finally got to meet you. Of course, you came highly recommended from our mutual friend, Mitch Jackson, who had a meeting today, so he wasn't able to be here. But I'm glad we've shared back and forth on Twitter. You are great at engagement, and you've been a real pleasure, and I hope you'll come back to see us. Hopefully one day when we can also have Ivan back when his timeline settles down. But I really do appreciate it. Don't disappear right away once I stop the recording. But thank you so much. Thank you to our listeners. Our guest today was Chrissie Lightfoot, the Naked Lawyer. You can find her at robotlawyerlisa.com. You can also find her at entrepreneurlawyer.co.uk or at duthylaw.co.uk, and that's D-U-T-H-I-E law.co.uk. Once again, legal futurist and entrepreneur and businesswoman, just awesome businesswoman with so much to give. Thank you so much again, Chrissie. We really appreciate you being here for episode 27 of Legal Tech Live.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Nick. It was brilliant. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. It's been brilliant.
Thank you very much. Have a good day.